Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hilary and I'm a psychic medium. And today we're going to be discussing another case. So if you are new, hello and welcome. If you could please click the subscribe button as well as the bell notification, you will know when I'm going to upload new videos, and I would really appreciate it. So for today's case, we're going to be discussing the Black Dahlia case. I'm pretty sure it's Dahlia. I could be saying it wrong. But actually, we were going to do this case in my podcast. If you are new here and you don't know, I'm also a podcast host with my friend who's also a psychic medium. And we do our podcast is called Macabre Mediums. And we do a lot of true crime cases and paranormal stuff on there too, and give our psychic impressions. So we did try to do this case on my podcast, but for some reason the recording got deleted. So Kayla and I took that as a sign that we weren't supposed to actually record that one, or that one wasn't supposed to be recorded yet. So today we're going to be discussing this case on my channel, just because I feel like it's really important to get voice out. And I mean, it is sort of a popular case, as it's been brought up in the past recent year, I feel like, and it's been talked about quite a bit on different podcasts. But I wanted to discuss it as well and give you guys my psychic impressions and what I picked up intuitively through my mediumship, okay? So I'm going to be reading my notes here, and we'll just get right into the case. Okay, so we're discussing the Black Dahlia. So this is a really dark and sickening unsolved case, because it is more of a vintage case, because it took place back in the mid-1900s, 1947 to be exact. So on the morning of January 15th, 1947, on South North Ave in Los Angeles, Betty Bersinger and her 3-year-old daughter were out for a stroll. She came across what looked like a mannequin lying in the grass. The plot twist was not that it was a mannequin, but it was actually a nude woman's body that had been severed in half. She alerted police, and they arrived on the scene. They found Elizabeth short, completely severed in half at the waist, each half about a foot apart. Her arms were placed above her head, and her legs were spread apart. She was white as a ghost, and she appeared to be brutally mutilated. There was hardly any blood at the scene, indicating that she was murdered elsewhere, and that her body was placed where it was found. So that's pretty sickening, right? It's a pretty gruesome case. So if you guys aren't for the gruesome cases, then I suggest that you click out now, because this is one of the more gruesome ones, okay? So the medical examiner performed an autopsy on January 16th, and he determined some other findings as well. She was 5'5", 115 pounds. She had light blue eyes, black hair, and teeth that were decayed. She had been dead for about 10 hours prior to being found, which places her time of death very early January 15th or late on the 14th. She was drained of all her blood. She had ligature marks on her wrists, her ankles, and her neck. Bruising on her scalp in various areas consistent with head trauma. Her mouth was sliced open in what's known as the Glasgow smile. She had cuts and abrasions all over, but notably her nipples were cut off. Her vagina was filled with grass and her own flesh. It's just disgusting. It's disgusting. Her mouth was full of feces, although this detail may be a rumor. So that's just disgusting on a whole other level. So without a doubt, poor Elizabeth had been tortured and brutalized, but the official cause of death was hemorrhaging from her facial wounds, along with shock from blows to the head. Okay, you guys, so this poor lady suffered a great deal, okay? So all that being said, we'll go back a bit and talk about Elizabeth Short's life. So she was born on July 29th. 1924 in Boston, Massachusetts. She was the third of 5 daughters born to Cleo and Phoebe Short. The family did well, and her father provided for them until the 1929 stock market crash, where he lost most of his savings and they were flat broke. In 1930, her father's car was found abandoned on a bridge, and he was presumed dead. He was believed to have jumped into the Charles River to take his life. They would later find out in an apology letter he had moved away and started a new life. So from there, her mother moved her and the girls into a small apartment and worked as a as a bookkeeper to support them that she could. So incredibly heartbreaking. She moved around quite a bit growing up, and she suffered various health issues. She would also spend some time in Florida due to her ailments in the winter months. So I'm picking up from my impressions, you guys, right away that she was anemic, highly anemic. So I feel like the reason they would travel to Florida in the winter months was because of her anemic health issues. So we're going to talk about the time frame before the murder took place. So Elizabeth would move to California, where her father had relocated. Although she is not known to have any roles in movies during her time in LA, she had dreams of being on the big screen. She would stay in Southern Cali for the last 6 months of her life, mostly in LA. She was working as a waitress before her death and renting a room behind the Florentine Gardens nightclub. She was known to be kind of all over the place during her life in LA. And after the murder happened, there were many rumors floating around about her. So some said that she was a sex worker, sleeping with men to get by as money was tight for her, which was not proven. Some said she was pregnant at the time of her murder, but the autopsy report did not mention this at all. So there isn't a lot we can say with certainty that she was, because she was kind of a mystery in life, and she is in death as well, right? So this is just really, really puzzling, okay? And as far as the investigation goes, this is one doozy of a case. So it just gained so much media attention. Rumors were circulating about Elizabeth, letters to the press. People were confessing to the crime, even though they were innocent. And when I say people, I mean like over 500 people over the years confessed to her crime. I'm going to narrow it down to some of the most noteworthy breaks in the case and suspects. And on January 21st, 1947, a man who claimed to be Short's killer phoned the office of James Richardson, who was the editor of the Examiner at the time. He told him he was impressed by the coverage of the case and to expect some souvenirs of Beth Short in the mail. Sickening. A few days later, a gasoline wiped package was delivered containing her personal effects, like her ID, her address book, and there was the name Mark Henson on the cover, photographs, a paper with names written on it as well. And this fell through as whatever prints were left on the package were lost in transit, not to mention wiped down with gasoline as well. And they weren't able to lift a proper print from that, unfortunately, at all. So how else would he have her personal effects? Or personal belongings. So Elizabeth's purse was also mailed by the alleged killer. Mark Hansen, the name that was embossed on the address book, also became a suspect. He was a successful nightclub and theater owner. And Ann Toth, Elizabeth's friend and roommate, told police that Elizabeth had turned Hansen down and suggested this as a motive for murder. He was later removed from the suspect list. George Hill Hodel Jr. was a pretty strong suspect in the investigation. He was never formally charged with the crime, and it came to wider attention as him being a suspect after his death when he was accused by his son, L.A. homicide detective Stephen Hodel, of killing Short and committing several additional murders as well. Prior to the Dahlia case, he was also a suspect in the death of his secretary, Ruth Spalding, but he was not charged and was accused of raping his own daughter as well. Her name was Tamar, but then he was acquitted. He fled the country several times and spent 1950 to 1990 in the Philippines. He was a physician and known to be performing illegal abortions out of his art mansion. And his house was bugged because he was a prime suspect of the Dahlia case and his secretary. LAPD caught this infamous quote, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they can't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead." They thought there was something fishy. Anyway, now they may have figured it out, killed her, maybe I did kill my secretary, end quote. They did have enough on him, but he fled the county first in Hawaii and practiced as a psychiatrist in a prison. Then he moved to the Philippines, and he later passed away in 1999. So another interesting suspect was the infamous mobster Bugsby Siegel. The theory is that she refused to abort LA Times publisher Norman Chandler's legitimate child. Allegedly, he had lied to the mob, so they assisted in either killing her or it was a failed abortion. I think this one is far-fetched, since there's no indication in the autopsy report saying that she was pregnant or recently pregnant at all, okay? So there's a few more infamous suspects. One last one we wanted to mention was a possible link to the Cleveland torso killer who operated between 1935 and 1938. There were 12 known dismembered victims, but possibly 20 in total. Okay, guys, so we're gonna get into what I picked up from the case through my psychic gifts as well as my mediumship, okay? So right away, I picked up that Elizabeth knew her killer. I did feel like he either lived near this nightclub or he was the owner of some property around this nightclub. So I know this because I see this in my visions, and I see her working at the nightclub, doing her, waitressing work, etc. And she's showing me in my visions, or spirit is showing me that there are a lot of like successful, wealthy men that would go to this nightclub. And I feel like she knew that there was a lot of successful and high up men in this nightclub that had connections. And spirit is telling me that that's why she wanted to actually work in this nightclub, because she had this dream of being on screen. And she knew that if she was to get a job there, that it would help her get some connections. So she did know a lot of these men. She was a flirt, okay? I did not pick up that she was a sex worker. I do want to say that. But I did pick up that she was a flirt. But she wasn't, some prostitute or sex worker, okay? So the man that I feel did this to her, I feel like he was, like I said, either the owner of the nightclub. If he wasn't the owner, he definitely had connections to people who did own this nightclub, and he had connections to the other men that would regularly attend this nightclub as well. And so I wrote, he did, spirit is telling me he did visit there often. And then I was told by spirit that this man made advancements to Elizabeth often, and she turned him down. I mean, good for her. She was a very assertive and not passive at all, which is amazing, especially for that day and age where women were, they were supposed to be like that. She was not like this at all, okay? And she turned him down a lot, and he couldn't handle this. And I feel like this is what caused him to take Elizabeth. And I actually hear from spirit that this was a man that got what he wanted, okay, in his mind. He got what he wanted all the time. And he was definitely narcissistic. I'm picking up that this man was very charming. He was well-liked as well. And I also picked up that she wasn't pregnant and that she was never pregnant, okay? And she was also never a sex worker. And spirit is telling me that she was a very determined, beautiful, hardworking, and she was very devoted to her dream, and she was going to get there no matter what, okay? Which is just amazing. Like, that's amazing that she was so determined and motivated to get, to be on screen and be famous. So she was very, very bold for a woman, spirit tells me, and she didn't take people's shit, okay? And good for her. Like, I congratulate her for that. That's amazing. So she said that, or spirit said that there was 2 males that actually put her body where it was found. But there was only 1 male that had actually murdered and tortured Elizabeth, okay? So in my visions, I see that this man was very wealthy, and he told Elizabeth that he could help her out with connections and getting her onto screen and with her acting career. And he asked her if she wanted to talk about it back at his place after her shift that night, is what spirit told me on January 14th. And he told her he would pick her up from her house. So they made and she agreed to this. And when I go into her energy, I actually feel like she is very, very excited about this as well. So she agreed to this. And then I actually see him driving up to her little place that she lived at near this nightclub. and I see her picking her up and her walking into the car, and then my visions flash to her. It's gonna get really serious, you guys, now. So it goes from very light-hearted to very serious, because in my visions I then start to see her turning him down in this house. And I'm not seeing like really the outside of this house, but it's not a very big house at all. It's not a very nice house. It is close to where this nightclub is. Okay, that's what I'm picking up. And so yeah, then my visions flash to her turning down more of his advancements, because she was under the impression that they were going to talk about this, you know, these connections that he apparently had, which he didn't. And she actually tries to leave, but he ends up, from what I'm seeing in my visions, tying her to a wooden chair, okay? And this is where he tortured her and kept her as well. And I am seeing that it is in the basement of this house. It sort of looks like a cellar. So I then hear from Spirit that she put up quite a fight. She really did fight, because she was very determined. She wasn't going to let this man do this to her, okay? And I did hear from Spirit that she was kept alive for at least 3 days. It's disgusting, it's heartbreaking, and he tortured her, raped her on numerous times during this 3 days. And she fought the whole time, you guys. And that's strongly made apparent by Spirit. Spirit really wants to, you know, everyone to know, because she wanted everyone to know. She wants everyone to know that she fought very, very, very hard for her life, okay? She didn't let this man just do what he wanted to do to her. And yeah, this lasted a few days, and Spirit tells me that during this few days, she is going in and out of consciousness. I'm then told by Spirit that her body was, when it was severed in half, that it was done after she passed away. So I am told by Spirit that she did not suffer from that, although she did suffer from the blows to the head that he used and all the torture he put her through. I'm picking up that he burned her with cigarettes and smashed her in the head with a hammer, and he did cut that smile into her mouth. And I am picking up that that was what she did end up passing away from. But she was in and out of consciousness this whole time, she tells me. So a lot of it, she actually, because I do ask Spirit, you know, did she feel this? And Spirit tells me no. But she did feel some of it, obviously, but she was in and out of consciousness when this was happening. So Spirit was telling me there was a colored man who actually lived upstairs in this house, okay, while this was all happening. But he kept quiet, and during the whole time, like, he didn't tell anybody about it, because he was so fearful of this man, because this man is a psychopath, obviously, disgusting, narcissistic psychopath. And I am getting that this man heard the cries of this poor lady, and he was just so, like, he wanted to help her so bad, but he didn't. And I am picking up that it is because he was a colored man in this age, and he just didn't feel like anyone would believe him, which is so disgusting and sad. But then also he was the male that helped. He was forced to help this man, from what I'm picking up, dump her body on where she was found. So, I did pick up that this house, was not actually where the man lived that is the murderer. But I do feel like he owned this place, and I do feel like he was renting it out to this man that lived there. And I do feel like he threatened this man, no, I'm gonna kick you out, you're gonna have nowhere to go, because this man did not have a lot of money. And I feel like he did say to this man, you know, I'm going to kick you out if you don't help me hide the body. And if you tell anybody, I will kill you as well. I am hearing that, like, clear as a bell through my clairaudience. So, yeah, he didn't tell anyone because he felt threatened that he knew this guy would kill him if he told anybody. So I do feel like this man has murdered previously before he murdered Elizabeth. And I am picking up that he had a lot of mommy issues as well, that his mother was a very strict and abusive woman in his life, and I'm not making an excuse for this guy at all, you guys. And also, I have to say in my videos, this video is for entertainment purposes only, okay? I'm just giving you guys what I'm being shown by my spirit guides. But there is some happy stuff at the end of all this, this disgusting case. I am actually told by spirit that Elizabeth has actually reincarnated, and that she has reincarnated as a famous person. And a lot of us know who she is, okay? But they didn't tell me what famous person she is currently, but she has reincarnated and she has filled out her contract, okay, that way, because that was her main goal as her life. You know, as we know, she wanted to be famous. She wanted to be on screen. So she is actually an actor right now, you guys. She has reincarnated. And that is what spirit wanted to tell me, that there is a happy ending. And she did go through a lot of torture and a lot of abuse. And it's disgusting and awful. But this man who did this to her is definitely paying the price. He is getting his karma, okay? So that's it, you guys, for this case. If you are new, like I said, if you could please hit the subscribe and the notification bell, I would greatly appreciate it. If you didn't know, I am also, like I said, a podcast host, and I also have a store where I sell all my merch on. I just came out with a oracle deck that's called Crime Time Oracle that seems to be popular, which is amazing. I'm super grateful and thankful for everyone who has purchased the deck, and to all of my subscribers that have supported me. But I do put my link down below in the description box if you are interested in purchasing that or looking at it or whatever. Either way, if you are interested in my content and you have subscribed, I really appreciate you, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye, everybody.